We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Monday, May 13th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yejin, and this is News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Good morning.
Happy Monday, and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. Now, we're going to begin with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online over the past 24 hours. We start in Sweden, where the 68th Eurovision Song Contest took place on Saturday local time. Switzerland's Nemo was crowned the winner with the song The Code. Now, Nemo was the first non-binary Eurovision champion and the first Swiss winner since Celine Dion in 1988. Now, this year's Eurovision has been called the most tumultuous edition yet, and there were large protests over Israel's participation, continuing right up to the day of the finals. Now moving on to the United States, it seems that one of the world's most esteemed award ceremonies is grappling with financial challenges. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced on Friday that it's launching a global fundraising campaign named Academy 100, aiming to raise $500 million by 2028. According to the Academy CEO Bill Kramer, this initiative is to diversify revenue sources and ensure the longevity of their programs. Now, this comes after the Oscars TV broadcast saw a decline in audience viewership, dropping from nearly 44 million domestic viewers in 2014 to 19.5 million this year. Finally, back here in Korea, May is festival season for universities here. Stages featuring renowned K-pop artists have become somewhat of a must for a fun festival, making preparations burdensome for universities. Now, domestic news outlets report that universities in Seoul spend roughly 150 to 300 million Korean won, which is around $110,000 to $219,000 on their festivals every year, with some allocating half of the budget solely for the performers. But as the cost of booking artists continues to rise, this has even forced one Seoul-based university to cancel its festival this year due to budgetary constraints. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this fierce competition among universities to secure top artists for their lineups?
I know that it's been a long-standing tradition here in Korea to have the best entertainment possible at the concerts. It's unlike anywhere else that I've seen around the world. But I really think, personally, the money could go to better things like infrastructure or better facilities for the students.
Right.
However, saying that, if the students are willing to sacrifice those upgraded infrastructures and facilities just to see some of the best, artists that Korea has to offer, then I guess it's not a big deal after all.
Right, because it's the students who are going to enjoy these festivals. So
correct.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Now, what are your thoughts, Chi-hee?
Well, I'm actually planning to go to one of these university festivals because same one, I think. Yeah, because they started offering a day of festivities for the alumni. Yes. And the lineup includes renowned artists and idol bands. I think Zico, Psy, IVE, right? So as the spectator, I'm really excited to watch them perform live. And in my opinion, as long as universities can afford it, it's perfectly fine to allocate a significant budget to feature famous artists, especially since these events are primarily for students and also for the alumni. However, the budget shouldn't come from the students, as in the ticket prices should always stay reasonable.
Yeah, because we're seeing some of these ticket prices going really high. So I think that's really important to maintain that balance between an appropriate amount of budget and also a festival that students can all enjoy. So if you have a chance, I hope you get to experience one of the university festivals here in Korea. And that was our news feed for this Monday. So now we're going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today, we're going to talk about the ongoing controversies within the K-pop industry that have been sparking fierce debate recently. So take a listen to find out. The big question in K-pop these days, what's going on between HYBE and Minijin, the CEO of HYBE's sublabel Ador? It all started 2 weeks ago when HYBE filed a legal complaint against Min for breach of trust after launching an audit into Ador and asking Min to step down. Min has been refuting these allegations and firing back, alleging that HYBE has been exploiting Ador and mistreating the label's girl group, NewJeans. This public fight, now stretching on for weeks, isn't just about the fate of their respective artists. It has also sparked broader discussions about the K-pop industry as a whole. So this is a huge issue. So let's first dive a deeper into the latest in the HYBE Min Hee-jin conflict. So Ji, could you please bring us up to speed on how this feud has been playing out?
Sure. So recently there was a dispute between BTS entertainment company HYBE and its subsidiary label Ador's CEO Min Hee-jin. So there are allegations of HYBE copying the concept of New Jeans, which was produced by Min Hee-jin. So she's called like the mother of New Jeans.
Right.
And HYBE apparently copied this group to create a new girl band called ILIT. And HYBE owns 11 different labels, including Big Hit Music, Belief Lab, and Source Music. And meanwhile, Min Hee-jin held a press conference regarding the whole dispute that garnered international attention and gained positive attention from the public for being very frank and confident about her stance and fight with HYBE as an individual.
Right.
However, Reuters reported that the dispute was a blow to South Korea's lucrative K-pop industry, with HYBE's share price falling and hopes for a launch in new music from New Jeans, as well as the partial comeback of BTS dampening.
Right, and I think that there is still a long way to go to solve this conflict, because I heard that Ador is going to hold its shareholders meeting and it's trying to prevent HYBE from exercising its voting rights, which HYBE is trying to do to get rid of Bin from her position. So it seems that it will take some time for this conflict to be solved. But this is not the only issue that has been buzzing in the K-pop scene. There have been some other issues and controversies, right?
Yeah, well, this has definitely been the biggest one, I think, this year. But
Right.
there are always tons of so-called K-pop scandals that go through the universe of K-pop on a yearly basis. Now, two examples that jump to my mind, for instance, the controversy over the Blackpink singers, Rosé and Jisoo's performance at the Coachella. Now, they made history being one of the very first K-pop bands to play at Coachella.
Right.
But the thing was that the other two members, Jennie and Lisa, were arguably having louder mics, and they are supposed to be the more popular of the group compared to Jisoo and Rosé. So there was a lot of controversy behind that, when in Korea we see as a lot of our idols as very much on the same page rather than backup singers like you would
Right.
see in the Western society. And of course, we've talked about it not too long ago, aespa's Karina's public relationship and how that went. There was a massive ripple effect from that. Fans continued to protest, including staging a truck protest in front of SM, and this had to lead the singer to write a handwritten apology and post it online to apologize to her fans, which I don't believe she should have needed to do it. But this also led to the ultimately breaking up, which as I said, I think it was crazy that happened.
Right, a lot of things have been going on, and another issue that I remember is the girl group Le Sserafim performing at Coachella this year, because fans were quite surprised about their live singing abilities. So that was another issue that has been buzzing in the scene. And going back to the HYBE Min Hee-jin conflict, now it's been almost 2 weeks. More than 2 weeks since this conflict broke out, and we have been seeing some great reaction, not only from the media but from the public and fans as well, right?
That's right. After Min Hee-jin's press conference, her statements were widely shared online. I'm sure you've seen some of them.
Yeah.
And even turned into memes. And even her outfit and cap she wore during the conference sold out on many fashion platforms. And many office workers in particular found her remarks relatable and took vicarious pleasure in seeing her fight against a large company as an individual alone. However, some viewed her negatively as well, accusing her of orchestrating a clever public relations campaign, given that she already earns 2 billion won per year.
Right, so a lot of mixed point of views and divisive opinions regarding this issue. Now, Walter, do you have anything to add on?
Well, for me, as a member of the public, I'm going to be more critical of the fans in this situation. I do observe K-pop fandom culture quite often. I think it is absolutely ridiculous the amount of influence that the fans have on K-pop artists' personal life. When it comes to the artist's professional life, I can completely understand, because it's because of the fans they are so popular, and they should be very thankful. The artists should be very thankful to the fans. But to be involved in their personal life, I think, is pushing the limits, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, at least. So this is a little bit different with Ador and HYBE, but yeah, I think K-pop fans should calm down, and that's not something that you should really say on live TV, but I honestly think they should calm down and back off and leave them to their personal life.
Right, so a lot to talk about regarding these issues surrounding the K-pop scene. So we're going to expand our discussion now and going to invite an expert in the industry to find out more about what all of this means for the K-pop landscape. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. Right, so today we're joined by Professor Siderbao Seiji, Assistant Professor of Korean and East Asian Studies at Busan National University. Welcome, Professor, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So we've been talking about all these issues surrounding the K-pop scene. Now, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on these recent stories that have been making headlines regarding the K-pop sector?
Well, there certainly is a lot to talk about.
Right.
I think that one of the things I've been paying attention to, in addition to some of the topics you've just introduced, is this issue around sajegi or chart rigging allegations against BTS. And this is actually alleged to have occurred in 2015 when BTS was still a relatively unknown group. Right. And it's connected to a court case from 2017. But because there was this citizen petition to the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and the ministry has ordered KOCA to investigate, then fans have sort of stepped up to protect their beloved artists. And there's been a lot of, shall I say, pitting BTS against the Korean people at large in some of the fan discourse. It's been very sad to see that, because I think that truly believing in BTS as artists would be to ignore this kind of noise and to just wait for these allegations to be proved untrue. So, so that's one of the things I've been paying attention to. But of course, fans have also had a lot to say about LE SSERAFIM's live singing ability at Coachella in April. And I think this is actually an issue that's endemic to the K-pop industry. Groups tend to dance live, but not always sing live, even when theoretically they are. And it's really difficult because K-pop albums are so highly produced that it is really difficult to match that recorded track when you're singing, especially if you're dancing at the same time. And so I'm going to have to believe that as LE SSERAFIM grows and gains more experience as artists, that their live singing ability, of course, will improve as well. But they are certainly not the only artists who have this issue. And of course, you've introduced the issue with HYBE and Min Hee-jin, but just wanted to say on this, on the issue with Islet potentially copying New Jeans, this again is something that we see in the K-pop industry again and again and again, because the K-pop industry loves to copy hit trends and successful artists. So the complicated part here is the fact that Min, who technically works for, Bang Ji-hyuk, is alleging that her own boss has ripped off her own intellectual property. And so that, as you can, understand, is a very sensitive thing that goes, perhaps cuts deeper than some of the financial maneuvering that other people have been focusing on.
Well, so you mentioned the conflict between HYBE and Min Hee-jin, and my question is related to this. Do you believe that this recent conflict between the two has in fact brought attention to some of the deeper issues within the industry?
Well, I think we've seen for a really long time that there are very few women who are working at a higher level in the K-pop industry. And so part of this HYBE versus Minheejin issue is definitely how difficult it is for a woman to succeed in a high-level, high-stress line of work in Korea. And Min's desire to have more financial or management control over her sub-label and her artists, I think it really resonates with a lot of women in Korea who similarly see themselves working tirelessly while a man may take the credit. And, you know, I think some of Min's choices in regards to New Jeans have embraced controversy in ways that I didn't think was necessary, but she has a very long career, and she's proven herself to have a very astute eye for what K-pop fans will respond to. She's a very, very talented producer. And unfortunately, making this fight big and ugly is benefiting no one. HYBE's stocks took a big hit, fans are angry, and the general public is really confused about why there's all this mudslinging happening within a single company.
Right, and in what ways do you think the K-pop industry can tackle these challenges moving forward?
Well, I think the K-pop industry has three large hurdles that they need to overcome right now. First, the industry is really focused on growth over quality, and I would like to see a focus on health, well-being, and artistic development for the existing artists rather than constantly debuting new idols. It seems like right now a lot of the companies are focusing less on training artists than just debuting multiple acts and hoping that someone strikes it big. And it's become really hard to keep up with new releases at this point. So second, the industry is really built on fan labor and fan finances, and fans are being made to feel responsible for the success of artists due to purchases and streams and all of that. And success has become very quantified. It's all about numbers. It's not discussed in terms of musical and performance qualities. And this is both exhausting and financially difficult for fans, and it's difficult for idols as well, because this loyalty, this close relationship that they create with their fans, this parasocial relationship, as we call it, is built on the idol's endless emotional labor. So they're required not just to perform, but also to emotionally connect. And third, and this really goes back to the issue with HYBE right now, this industry has been built on these really powerful, theocratic CEOs who are also music producers who make their decisions behind closed doors. But K-pop agencies have become publicly traded companies, and they're increasingly important to the Korean economy. And we need more transparency, more systematic governance. And I think that would really help diffuse some controversies and calm the market for the good of investors and fans and idols and everyone else.
Right. All right, Professor Seiji, thank you so much for your valuable insights today. We really appreciate it.
All right. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Right, so back here in the studio, I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on the reasons why we're seeing these so-called fundamental issues or concerns being raised in the K-pop scene right now?
I think the professor mentioned it well. The intense competition within the industry and the increasing number of these groups being produced have led to a certain level of uniformity in terms of their music, as well as the style and the choreography. So as a result, fans have started treating these groups as commodities rather than cultures, because they look all uniform and they're just there like products. And this has led to fans scrutinizing idol groups' performances as well very closely. And like you've mentioned, there have been controversies surrounding some groups' poor live performances, and they've resulted in stricter standards for all these idol groups as well. And as the professor mentioned, it's really hard to perform, sing and dance at the same time. And these songs are just highly produced and really hard to follow. But fans, because they're so used to them now, they're looking at these groups more closely and strictly.
Right, and I think the reason why they're being so used to this high, like this tough singing and dancing performances is because this has sort of become that success model that Professor Seiji has mentioned. So a lot of people are expecting their artists to perform likely as well. Now, what are your thoughts, Walter?
I'd like to stick to the relationship between the fans and obviously the idols. Fans are excessively empathizing authenticity and sincerity in the marketing of efforts showing their fandom towards the idols. I completely get that. Now, there are many platforms aimed at strengthening communication between their favorite idols. Social media is just a great example of using one. But there are also, you know, shows, like reality TV shows also being produced about their favorite idols, etc. But however, when these idols actually start dating, the fans somewhat feel betrayed, which I do not personally understand. The emotional labor of idols is becoming increasingly burdensome. They feel like they can't live their own life, even though, yes, they do have a very out of the ordinary style of life. They are these big stars. A lot of attention is put onto them. But at the end of the day, they're just human beings with the same mental capacity as we do. But I think about it this way. If you're investing money in idols, that's fine, because a lot of people invest money in stocks, and I completely get it. But when you invest money in stocks, you don't really care about what the CEO of the company is doing with their personal life. You're just making sure that they're doing their business correctly. And I think that's the way that they should approach idols as well. Yes, it's okay to invest into your idols because you love them so much, but at least give them the freedom to be who they are by themselves when they're not at work.
Right, because at the end of the day, as you mentioned, they're also just people like us. And last but not least, expanding on this, where do you believe the K-pop industry and its fandom culture should be heading?
Well, I totally agree with Walter. And many idol groups have young members who are still growing, and they may be really vulnerable to all these all sort of exploitation. So I think it's important to first of all create a culture that respects these individuals as human beings rather than mere commodities or products, and really respect their personal life. And also the practice of manipulating music charts, like the ones our professor has mentioned, through the hoarding of albums and also copying music, should be better regulated through legal means.
Right, for a more sustainable and healthy K-pop culture and a fandom culture as well. What about you, Walter?
I think it's simple, and I'm going to stay to this topic of, you know, the relationship area, which is stick to the professional side of things rather than the personal side of things. It's like if someone was bothering you outside of work. If you're a K-pop fan, you wouldn't want someone to be bothering you outside of work, because being in work anyway is stressful enough. The last thing you want is someone to be also hounding at you, especially what you're doing with your personal life outside of your working conditions. So that's where I'd like to see the K-pop fan culture and the K-pop culture move towards, is more of a friendly, ethical environment.
Right, and maintaining that balance is really, really important. So hope our discussion today helps create a more healthier and sustainable culture, both for K-pop artists and K-pop fans. And that's all we have for today, but NewsGen is here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Choi Ji-hee.
Always a pleasure.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.